3 masteries down, now it's time to move on to mining mastery. As always, check out the mastery overview if you haven't already. There actually isn't a ton to talk about for mining mastery, so this section will be a bit shorter than the others. For mining mastery, we're given 2 crafting recipes in the Statue of the Dwarf King and the Heavy Furnace, and gem-bearing rocks will now give twice the gems. Starting out, let's check out the Statue of the Dwarf King. It's one of the crazy expensive mastery recipes requiring 20 iridium bars to craft. Luckily, you'll only ever need 1. Similar to the Statue of Blessings from Farming Mastery, you'll get a random buff each day, but this time you get to choose one of 2 options. And since there's only 5 possibilities total, you have a much higher chance of getting the one you want. Resetting the day will not change your choices, nor will having multiple statues. The options are +1 ore when mining nodes. By default, they all drop 1 to 3 ore. With this, it'll be 2 to 4, and if you combine it with the miner profession, 3 to 5 ore. In those respective situations, it'll either be a 50% increase or a 33% increase in ore. Greater chance to find geodes. This applies to regular geodes, frozen geodes, magma geodes, and omni geodes. Note that the increase is multiplicative, so for instance, if you had a 4% chance to find a geode, it's now 5%. This is important to mention because not all areas have the same chance for a certain type of geode to spawn. The greater chance to find coal increases the chance by 40%, multiplicative once again, for rocks in the mines. If you have the prospector profession, which increases the chance by 50%, this buff only increases it by 20%. Regardless of your profession, if you break a rock outside but not in the quarry, it only increases the chance by 3%. And if you do get a piece of coal from a rock outside, you then have a 2.5% chance to get a second piece of coal. Very convoluted, but those are the numbers. Greater chance to find ladders and shafts. This gives them a 25% higher chance, multiplicative. Once again, it's multiplicative because it's not a constant chance. It goes up the less rocks and enemies there are on a floor. The chance for a drop from monsters is constant though, and it's now 22% instead of 15%. Bombs cannot damage you. Exactly what it says, you no longer take damage from bombs. This also includes explosive ammo. So, let's go over all these. If you need geodes or coal, of course you can choose those. Bomb damage is pretty situational. Ideally, you're not taking damage from bombs anyway, but the +1 ore from nodes sits on top for me. The greater chance to find ladders and shafts is great, but if you're using staircases to drop anyway, which you should in a good Skull Caverns run, it's not going to have as much of an impact. The +1 ore is essentially a 33% increase in the amount of ore you'll get on average, which in turn is a 33% increase in profit if you choose to sell the bars. That's pretty huge. The Heavy Furnace crafting recipe isn't quite as bad. Just 3 iron bars, 50 stone, and 2 furnaces, which it's going to take the place of anyway. It takes 25 ore and 3 coal at once to produce 5 bars, with a 50% chance of producing 1 extra bar. This also applies to quartz. You'll either get 5 or 6 refined quartz, and for fire quartz, you'll get anywhere from 15 to 20 refined quartz. It runs the 50% chance to increase for each fire quartz, so you could get 18, you could get 17, it's weird. Be warned, if you're putting in a bouquet, it'll only accept 1 at a time, but it will still take 3 coal instead of 1. The time it takes to process all of these items is the same as their regular furnace. There's not really much to say here. You'll get 10% more bars on average, combined with the +1 ore buff from the Statue of the Dwarf King. It goes hard. And last we have gem-bearing rocks granting twice the gems. This includes all of the gem nodes and the mystic gem node, which has a random chance of having any gem. This does not apply to cinder shards, calico eggs, or geode nodes. This does combo with the geologist profession, which has a 50% chance to double gems from gem nodes. So with those 2 together, you have a 50% chance to get 2 gems and a 50% chance to get 4 gems. Now you may see that and think, oh well, big deal. But gem hunting can be a genuinely good moneymaker now. You can also get a small boost from the book The Diamond Hunter, traded for 10 diamonds with the Volcano Dwarf, which gives you a 0.66% chance to drop a diamond from any rock. And this drop is affected by the geologist profession, but not the mastery buff. And just because I had to calculate it, this means that every rock you break, on average, earns you 9.6 gold in diamond money. Anyway, you'll now also get a lot more bang from your buck from mining buffs because they also increase the chance of gem nodes appearing. And finally, you can slap on the gemologist profession for a 30% sell price buff to all minerals. Now on average, a single diamond node will make you 2,932 gold. Oh, and I also did the calculations for all of the other gem nodes. The best way to find them will just be by doing skull cavern runs, not only for the highest chance for them to spawn, but also to gather iridium at the same time. For a more stress-free method, you can repeat the last 5 floors of the mines. The deeper you are, the higher chance you have to find diamonds. And if you're curious, the first floor of the skull cavern basically acts like floor 121 of the mines. Also, on top of all of the money making, remember that diamonds are loved by 8 NPCs and liked by everyone else. It's a very valuable item. And that is Mining Mastery. This is one of the best masteries you can choose for making money. As I said before, the combination of the +1 ore buff and the heavy furnaces is wild. Originally, I was going to combine this with the combat mastery guide, but the longer I thought about it, the more it made sense to just keep them separate, just in case someone's looking for something specific. Join me next time for the last of the 5 masteries, combat. See you all then, and good night.